Hello, everyone. It's Amy, and welcome to Base and Boundaries, your one stop shop for all things mental health and music. So, if that's your kind of thing, stick around for the next drop. Hello, everyone. It's Amy from Base and Boundaries, and I have got the absolute pleasure of having on this evening, or in Jeannie's case, this afternoon. I'm inviting on today Jeannie, who is from Jeannie B ASMR, which is a massive YouTube channel, and that's actually how I found Jeannie. So I'm gonna give it all to you. Like, tell us about who you are, my lovely.
Well, like you said, I have a YouTube channel, Jeannie B ASMR, and I've been doing that I almost said 104, feels like it, 4 years. And and if you don't know what ASMR is, it's really about just kind of that feeling, tuning into that feeling of not only calm, but kind of like tingles, quiet, calm tingles in your brain. I found as a kid and as an adult, I needed more to fall asleep, not just a quiet room. A quiet room wakes me up because I hear every little tick, every little, and it keeps my mind active. So I need sound, but not TV, not radio, not music. And I found for me, it reminded me of when I was in college, I had this one professor who would, it was microbiology. Hopefully he never sees this. He would drone on and on and on and on. And I needed to kind of like put toothpicks in my eyes to keep them on. But it was lovely because I just wanted to fall asleep to that monotonous tonal voice. So I kind of was finding things like that. I remember, searching boring lectures, on YouTube. And then one thing led to another, and I found ASMR. Well, about that time, my grandson had said, Baba Nini, that's what my grandkids call me. I was putting him to bed. He was like a young teen, and just in there in his room, he was staying with us at our house. And he said, Baba Nini, you should have a YouTube channel. I said, why? And he said, because you've got a lovely voice and it makes us so relaxed. And I said, well, what would I talk about? He goes, nothing, just your voice, just your blah, blah, blah. And, it's like goes in one ear and out the other, but a part of it stuck. And it was months later, like maybe even close to a year later, I was listening to some ASMR. I don't know who. And I thought, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can use my mom putting her kid to sleep or grandma putting her grandkid to sleep, where you try to bore them to death, or, calm them down and de-escalate the stimulus in the room. And so I sat down with my phone and just made my first video, and then a second, and then a third, and then a 10th and 20th, and it just kind of took off. And so that's how I came to my channel, and it came to me. It just, Jeannie B, ASMR, queen of blah, blah, blah.
And that's how I found you. It was
Yeah.
a recommendation on my YouTube page, and I just clicked you. And I can't even remember what the video was about. That's how long ago it was. It was, say a couple of
Right.
years ago. And I've got, like I say, no idea how that came about, but I just went, oh, I need to comment on her video and tell her that she's amazing. And then it just kind of happened, didn't it? We just got talking, and then I followed you on Instagram. And then, like I say, we now have this, I know there was a community with kind of like ASMR, and you've created more like, people that I know. And I was like, oh, this person and I know that person. And it's kind of like all gone like that, hasn't it? So, but if
Yes. And
how
then I did, oh, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. Go. You're okay.
And then what was really, I remember I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. And then I did like a reveal, and I had just a few people. I said, tell me about how you found my channel, and you know, a little bit about your interactions with my child, with my channel. And you were one of a lot of people who sent in kind of a video from across the pond, and so I used that in my big
Yes.
reveal to my family. So that
Oh, I
was,
remember that. Oh my
yeah, you sent me
gosh.
a video.
That
Yeah,
was
you were
must
one of
be
the, I think,
mm,
5 that I chose.
oh my gosh, I remember that. And I remember well, I think the biggest was when you came to York and we met up, and that was probably like one of the best days, especially for my daughter Edie. My goodness, like Edie's number one fan, not me. You like Edie.
Oh, well, that was wonderful. Meeting your family was, it was a delight. So
Thank you. And you as well, especially, just having that time. I know we didn't get much time, but it was just lovely, and it was so worth that drive. And because we got stuck in so much traffic, I remember getting up there like, oh, like, but so so obviously like with ASMR, it's kind of like on the same frequency, if you will, as music, because I feel music and I get chills, tingles from music. I feel music very deeply. Do you get that feeling with music too?
yes, there will, sometimes I'll hear a song like driving in my car, and I have to take a quick shot, picture of it, because I don't want to forget that I want to add that song to my playlist or whatever, you know, or it takes me back.
Yeah.
You know, and particular songs, not even talking genres, particular songs, you'll remember something maybe from your childhood, or, you know, songs evoke such emotions and memories. You know,
Mm.
I don't listen to that like smooth, jazzy type stuff from the 50s or 60s. I can't remember the names of the bands, you know, lots of strings, but it makes me feel good because when my mom would put us down for a nap, she'd turn on the radio and play that
Yeah.
while she kind of cleaned house and did stuff. And so while I don't listen to that, you know, like I can't even think of who it would be, but lots of strings and quiet jazz. But it makes me feel good when I hear it, because it's like, oh, I remember being safe, tucked in my bed with while my mom cleaned, you know.
Oh, I find that, I'm the same as you. Like I have to have something on to go to sleep. And mine is, and I know we laughed about it. Mine is actually the sound of a plane, like being on a plane, that hum, which is ironic given I'm terrified of flying. Um, but I love the sound of being like that cabin noise, like being, and it just zones me out and I'm asleep within minutes. Whereas, I've suffered for years
Mm.
of insomnia. So finding that little niche, you can get like white noise boxes and stuff you can plug into your bedside table and stuff, which they started bringing out over here, which is awesome. But yeah, there's something about a plane. I love it. And then I was saying to you as well that, I finally kind of overcome my fear of flying. I actually want to get on a plane now because of it.
It's
It's kind of,
interesting because I'm working on a video with some plane sounds. So
oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. It's something about like and we've kind of got a shared love for Maria from Gentle Whispering. She does like the airplane ones where she's like, let's say, the air hostess. Oh, fantastic. I listened to one of her videos for every night for like a year because it just knocked me the hell out. And I think like say with music, it's kind of the same feeling. I think when you've got that, when you get tingles, like for me to experience them, I'm terrible because I could be in my office. I'm supposed to be doing my work, but I will have on something in the background, and I'll have like my headphones in and I'll have something ASMR based on. Sometimes I find myself zoned out, I'm gone. And I'm like this, I'm like, whoops. Like, and then I have to go back to it. Do you find that like sometimes you just go and you go to somewhere else?
Yes, and which is why for me working in quiet, because I'm too, you know, squirrel, you know, I'm easy to, you know, distract, you know, I'll close my blinds here because otherwise I'm like, oh, watching what's going on out in the world. And, the little girl in me just wants to, what's everyone doing? And music can kind of do that to me too. So if I really need to focus, I'll do it in the quiet. But when I want to relax or feed a certain mood, I'll put on certain music. So for instance, cooking, sometimes I'll put on French cafe music, and it's wonderful. It's nothing I grew up with, but for that moment, it works. When there are days where I feel like in mornings, my father used to listen to, like, particularly Sunday mornings, he would put on classical music. We grew up with classical music. When my dad wasn't there, my mom would put on that smooth, quiet jazz, but for the most part, it was classical music. Wow. And so that was wonderful. So classical music takes me back to growing up. And then I got my first radio, and things changed.
Oh, wow. That's really cool, because I suppose if you've grown up with, so I grew up in the 90s, so I've gone from my dad having vinyls and tape players to go to CDs, then the iPod and, MP3s, and now everything's just streaming. Like, you would have gone from that generation then where, what was kind of like that turning point? Was it when you got your first radio?
Well, we had a record player, and it was in a great big console that was also the TV, and it had built-in 2 big speakers on either end, and you had to warm it up to, you turn it on and you had to wait a little while, everything kind of warmed up. And so we had records. Records were what we listened to. Now, we did have a radio in the kitchen, and that's what my dad would put on, this one channel, KSFO, I think. No, not KSFO. It was a Bay Area, San Francisco station, classical music. And so we did, and it was just a small portable plugged in radio. It wasn't wireless or, but then I got my first radio, and it was just, it was just AM, AM and FM. It was just, I'm trying to remember, and I still have the radio, but I started discovering, the Beatles and things that we didn't listen to growing up. And I remember sometimes my dad would walk by and it's like, what garbage is that you're listening to? What hippie music is that you're listening to? And, so I kept it down. And then, but, slowly started, I kind of like this. I kind of like that, and just finding things that I was exposed to that I liked. And the stations were KFRC. That was a big one. And there was another one. Oh, goodness. But anyway, that's when I kind of started discovering other music besides the smooth jazz my mom liked and the classical that my dad liked. And and so by the time I was in my early teens, I remember joining the record club, Columbia House Records. You get 12 for like a quarter, and then you are committed to buying so many for the next year. You have to spend so much money. And some of my first albums were Carole King, Tapestry, George Benson, Breezin'. There was another one, Bread. Oh, the best of Bread, and, kind of sappy, but it was so good. And John Denver, and then there were some others I can't remember, but I remember I played those over and over and over. Well, I had an older brother, Brian, and he was 15 months older than me. And he started when I was about 14, he started introducing me to Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and Peter Frampton, and the Eagles, and Fleetwood Mac and things like that. So rock, And then as I turned 15 and he was 16, going on 17, we started going to concerts. Day on the Green in the San Francisco Bay Area, where they would have an entire day full of, Fleetwood Mac, or, just a full lineup. The Steve Miller Band, Santana, what another one was Led Zeppelin and the Eagles, and, just a full day of great, awesome rock music.
Wow.
And so, so then I fell in love with Jimmy Page. He's the lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, and I just had the biggest crush on him. Putting up pictures in my room. It's like, oh, I loved Jimmy Page, and I was just bound and determined to meet him, and he would just fall for me. He's much older than me, but when you're a teenager, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, so that was my, early evolution of music, and it changed as I became an adult, of course. I still love Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, but there's a whole lot more.
Yeah, and isn't it funny how you were saying before we started recording, like how you've got a variation of music? I'm exactly the same. When I'm driving, it's got to be drum and bass. It's high paced. It makes me feel good. I'm fancy. I love it. And then sometimes I need something like country. Like I need a bit of country in my life sometimes,
Absolutely.
I really like it. And it was a lot of, I'll have to get my phone for this actually, because there's a lot of American country. I've fallen in love with it. Like it's incredible. And it's kind of like when I went to the States when I was a kid, there was all these kind of country radio shows, and my mom would listen to them and I'd be like, oh, I don't like this. It's boring. But actually, I really like it now. Isn't it funny what we take for granted? But like things.
It's funny that way.
I like, oh God, I'm trying to think of some of the names off the top of my head. I'm looking on my phone. Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan. He's another one. I really like him. Morgan Wallen's my favorite one. Yeah.
Who?
Morgan Wallen. I really like him. Or is it Wallen? I don't know, but I like him.
I got into country. There was a period in the early 90s. It was Randy Travis and, Clint Black and, things like that, kind of like old school country, not old school, but, Garth Brooks, and just really loved country back in the 90s. And we used to go out to, and do line dancing, on Thursday nights, so fun, to country music. So I think with life, you kind of go through episodes of music that attracts you in a period of time. And it isn't that you leave it behind, it's just that you find a next one. And then you come back in and pop in and revisit that. And it feels good because it takes you back to that era, and I'll think like Percy Faith, the 60s, or, some of the music of the 60s I'll hear, and it's like, wow, it takes me back. And then, like the rock, it takes me back to my time with my brother, and and then the 90s and, with the country, and then, it just, and so depending on the mood I'm in, I'll put on a playlist that supports my mood of what I want to encourage to, to continue to feel like. And, or if I'm feeling particularly upset or, agitated just by life, I may look for something that does chill me and does center me and ground me and calm me. I don't need more. I don't need Led Zeppelin at that point. I need something quiet, something.
That's understandable.
Calming.
Totally understandable. And I think sometimes we, like you say, when you kind of feel music, I know that when I'm sad, the last thing I want is drum and bass. I need to be away from that. It would get me more, I suppose, agitated or angry. I think like my dad, when he was alive, he loved Nirvana. And so I find it hard to listen to Nirvana now because I always kind of think of him. And I suppose I interviewed a lady a couple of weeks ago, Antonia, that can't listen to music at all because she lost her two sons. And so I find that music has such an impact on us mentally that, you know, has it been a big help for you mentally? Like if you've ever gone through some hard times, has it been an addition to help you out, or have you gone through things in your own way?
Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of loss in my life, you know, when I think about, like, for instance, both my brothers, I lost both my brothers. And, you know, so my brother, my older brother, who we were very close, you know, when I hear
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, you know, some Pink Floyd music, especially their early stuff, um, really can take me away. And then my younger brother, Ben, you know, different music for him. He was more classical, actually. And then, like my son, I lost my son, and I'll hear a song that I know he loved. There was one, it was Gorillaz with a Z in it.
Yep.
You know, and sometimes I'll hear that and it's just like, it makes me smile because it reminds me of him. I see him. And so what's that one, Starry-Eyed Surprise? I can't remember who sings it, but, you know, I'll hear their genre of music, my kids, and it's like, it takes me back. But yeah, it does, you know. And I heard someone say once, if you're going through something like a breakup or a heartbreak or something, don't play a favorite song over and over because you'll come to hate that song and it'll always remind you of that breakup or that whatever. Pick something that you don't care that you're not going to listen to again. So be careful about what music you turn to in a hard time because you won't want to remember the hard time. You know, I think I remember I heard a song on the radio, an oldies station in the 70s. It was a 70s oldie. Now I'm from the early 60s, and I remember it was the first dance I ever went to and the first time I ever danced with another boy, you know, it was like, you know, and it's interesting because it brought back all my awkward feelings about myself, which I think every kid, teen, you know, preteen goes through, you know. And so, yeah, when you hear sometimes a particular song or a particular type of music, it can, you know, it zaps you back to a period of time. And that's why I was saying, you know, be careful of what you listen to when you're going through as an adult or an older person, you know, when you're going through a painful period. Is it something, you know, make sure it's not music you want to listen to again because it's going to bring you back to that.
Yeah.
So, you know, make sure it's music that you don't care if you throw away and never hear again, you know, unless you want to be reminded of it. Because music it just takes you back. It transports you. Like nothing else. Maybe smells can do that too.
It does. I mean, occasionally I will smell a really strong smell of lavender and it's unexplained in my house. And I know my mum, she gets it as well. We know it's my nan and we're just kind of like, but I will just be in here and I get this really strong smell of lavender like waft past me and I'm like, oh, hi, nan. Like, and it's kind of creepy, but here we are. But I live in a house that's from, I think, 1972. And there was an elderly couple that lived here once. I don't even like talking about it because the hairs like go on the back of my neck. I'm like, ugh. But I do believe that they potentially passed in the house. And but this is life, isn't it? It happens. But I honestly can tell you, like, there are so many original features and stuff. So, like, the older stuff, it's crazy, like how things can be just like set in time. And abandoned houses, there's plenty of them in the UK where people go around and they explore them and they find these old vinyls and you're like, wow, and they must be worth a fortune. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you think, you know, if these walls could talk, what would they say? What did these walls hear? You know, what what was the energy in
Mm,
this room or in this house, in this place.
mine's very
And
calm. I don't know about your house, but my house is very calming. It's very, when I viewed it, I went, I like it because I don't get a bad feeling from it. I got bad feelings from other houses, but I didn't with this one.
yeah,
Um,
my house is very it's very calm and peaceful. It was, yeah.
it's that feeling, isn't it? Like you just know it's the right one for you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So what's Jeannie listening to? Like what is your, like, in your soundtrack of your life? And I know you dreaded this question, like in your
Yeah,
what's
it's
your top
like,
3 songs?
okay, I would say, let me look on
Get the
my phone
Spotify,
because
do it. Get
there
the
is
app.
something that I would say one of my top three is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd.
Nice.
Because that song, when they were writing their music, Sid Barrett was one of their, musicians who actually started Pink Floyd with them, who just, he overdosed on acid and just never came back. He went one way,
Wow.
and there are so many lines that they have that paid homage to him,
Hmm.
but also make me think of my brother. And I think Wish You Were Here. And it's a beautiful song. It really is. It's a very, very beautiful song. So that would be one. And here, let me go into my music. There are a lot of songs by the Eagles that I love. I've seen the Eagles maybe 3 or 4 times now
Wow.
live, starting back in the 70s. First time I saw them was like in 77. Oh, that was such a great concert. But anyway, so there are a lot of things, but they're older stuff like Peaceful Easy Feeling, um, you know, um, let's see what else. And I've been loving lately Jelly Roll, you
I
know.
love Jelly Roll.
I just
Yeah.
Jelly Roll. Not every single song, but a lot of them. Um,
They're kind of feel good songs, aren't they? Like they make
well,
you feel like they're very positive. I do like positive stuff. I mean,
yeah, and they go from a place of brokenness
mm,
to to healing,
yeah,
and his spiritual walk, his spiritual brokenness to being okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Jelly Roll. Um, that one song, Dreams Don't Die. Oh, it's beautiful. So I would
Um,
say Dreams Don't Die, Jelly Roll. Um, and there are 2 soundtracks that I love. One is from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
mhm.
I could play that every day. And there's another soundtrack I love from Dances with Wolves.
Oh, nice.
Those two just, they're very different. But yeah, I would say there's Led Zeppelin in there too. Um, Bronjar Stomp, some of the older, lesser known things of Led Zeppelin. Not, I mean, Stairway to Heaven was a great song, of course, classic,
Mm,
greatest rock song, but some of their quieter acoustic stuff also was just some of my favorites. So I know I got in more than 3, but it's just I can't be defined by
yeah,
3.
that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, oh, I think, when people think of like, see, I don't think in the States, I don't think drum and bass really is a thing over there, is it? I mean, I think it's
Who?
kind of, so like, so the genre of music, drum and bass, which is quite like fast play, I can't even, I wouldn't even know how to describe it to somebody that's never heard. I think like really fast, like very fast. And then sometimes they're not so much. Because when I kind of started learning about different types of music genres, I didn't realize there's things called subgenres where there's a type of like drum and bass, then there's dance floor drum and bass, which is the stuff I listen to, the stuff that makes you dance, the things that are positive, that is upbeat, very fat, like sort of very fast tempo. I love it. But then you've got like trance, then you've got the stuff that doesn't even have lyrics. It's just noise. I don't like that stuff. It makes me feel quite agitated. Like, but then for me, it's like I would then look at things like country. It's just country, isn't it? It's just not complicated. And I think, I don't know about you. Do you think sometimes that some of the music industry and the genres, they just put so much out there because everything's so fast paced now, you know?
You know, it's interesting because I was contacted by a German music producer about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
More. And he and his partner were creating some music that young people go out and listen to.
Love that.
And I can't remember the kind of music it was called. I think I know.
If he's German, I can probably guess.
Yeah. And so anyway, he said, we're creating this and I want to include your voice from some of these videos.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I was interested. And so I said, yes. And so he sent me a clip of it. And so you hear this music, and then all of a sudden you hear my voice doing positive affirmations. You are doing well. Everything is fine. And was it techno beat? And so you have my voice coming in every now and then, just reminding, as a part of the music. And, you know what, I bet I can find it and play a clip.
You know what it is? I will link it as well. If you send me it, I will link it because
okay. I don't know if it's actually, like done yet.
How cool
because
is that?
it's just so, what was the name of it? F starts with an F. Anyway,
you've done something that's on my bucket list. I want to feature on a track at some point in my life. That's such a thing I want to do. So like you've unintentionally appeared on someone's track. That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, it just kind of, it's like, what is this? What are you talking about? And then hearing it was just, really, really cool. So
It's real, I guess.
Yeah. So, but again, it's not music that I would tune into or music that I would listen to. There are just some genres are not for me,
See,
Old
that's
school
my kind
R&B is,
like,
pardon me?
That's my kind of stuff, like the techno stuff. Not all of it, like some of it. I used to work in a restaurant with a guy who's Polish, and he had his own kind of, again, subgenre, and a lot of it was like dude, and it was this really, like, I can't think what it would be. I couldn't even. It was like a robotic kind of noise, and I'm like, what is this? And it was so, like, sometimes it would squeal. But he used to do it because our boss wasn't very nice to him. So we used to play it really loud on purpose to wind our boss up. And I always remember that. So every time I hear anything like that now, I always think of him. So it's like that. It takes you back to those moments where you just think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll try and find that and send it to you. Although I don't know if it's something, given that I don't know about copyright, and you don't want to get a copyright strike by posting something you have no permission to post.
So typically, if it's on Spotify or there's a link, or if it's on like SoundCloud,
that they can get absolutely.
And if people want to click and play it, they can. So, but so you don't fancy doing no techno music then? No.
I am not a techno girl. No. No.
I could see you to be fair, I could see you with cowboy boots and a cowboy hat with a guitar going for it. I think that would be definitely more your thing.
And I love the old school country, like Patsy Cline too, and Loretta Lynn and some of the oldies, old Willie Nelson country. That's good too, that old school stuff.
What about British artists? Like, who would stand out for you?
Adele. I love Adele. We went and saw her up in Seattle, Washington. And so that was an awesome concert.
Such a exterior. I love her for her bluntness. I just love that about her.
Yeah, she's just real. You get a sense of her just She'll tell
She
you what
doesn't
to
take
think.
no crap. That is just who she is. And Amy
Right.
Winehouse was probably one
Oh,
of my inspirations growing up, because I hate the fact she's not
yeah.
here, because she made some incredible music.
Yeah, she was a tortured soul in a way. And I think, you know, for creators of music, that tortured soul, they tap into something and are able to channel it through. I mean, Mozart going, you know, and even further back, but Mozart was a tortured soul in many ways. And, you know, how he wrote what he wrote,
Mm.
he went somewhere and it came. And once it came out his hand, it wasn't even edited. It wasn't changed. It came
Right.
out complete. What is that? You know, that's tapping into something that I think only certain kinds of tortured souls of some kind can access. And they're able to grab something and bring it down and translate it for others.
Mm.
And so I think Amy Winehouse was like that, you know, most definitely.
There was a lady I was interviewing yesterday who's one of my friends, and she's a drummer. And we were talking about this, about how musicians get quite lonely, and a lot of their craft comes from loneliness, and, you know, going on tour, and it, you know, it's all the hustle and bustle, meeting the fans, the crowds, but it's when that hotel door shuts, when that tour bus shuts, that feeling of emptiness, because they're not in a regular routine. They're being jetted off left, right, and center. I mean, it looks great, but I guess there must be some element of loneliness there.
Yeah, I think extreme emotion, extreme happiness, you know, joy, pain, sadness, loss, you know, not fitting in, those things, when channeled, can, you know, have produced such creativity.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I think a lot of us creativity people, we are quite lonely people. I spend a lot of time on my own, you know, when the kids are at school and that, you know, I work from home primarily. I don't go out as much as I used to. I just kind of,
Mhm.
I'm in my bubble. But when I'm in that little bubble, that's where that creativity comes in. And that's where I was like, I need to do this podcast. I have to. It's just one of them, isn't it? Where like you just got your phone and went, okay, I'm going to do ASMR. I'm going to do it. And then that was like me. I actually met a musician who was one of my favorite musicians in the whole world. And he was like, just do it. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then it's
Exactly.
like, okay, I'll do it. Like, and then it just happened, and this happened. And yeah, I'm very grateful. But if you
Yeah.
could, give yourself from like 20 years ago a piece of advice, what would it be? Because I get a lot of people in, like, my statistics are typically ages between sort of 20 to 40. So you could tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Definitely focus. I mean, we're always in a dual role. Focus. We have to focus on ourselves, but we also have to focus on other people. Your focus. You have to turn yourself off when you're caring about your kids. You know, your husband. You have times where it's, you know, a give and a take, and sometimes it's not given to yourself. You know, and that's just the way it is, and that's okay. But remembering to take time for yourself, to feel. It's easy to say, and it sounds like a word salad. You know, take care of yourself, you know, and feel confident. But sometimes those words don't resonate and you feel quite crappy.
Mm,
I think allow yourself to feel what you're feeling when you're feeling it. And I think the more you allow yourself to be in a place rather than resisting it, because if it doesn't feel good, we don't want to be there.
yeah.
Whereas if we just allow it, I'm going to feel like absolute today. And I know it won't last. And I know, you know, because it's like, but experiencing it fully kind of makes it done. It's like, okay, went there, got the t-shirt, and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
So allow yourself to be what you are when you need to be it, but not defining yourself by that. I'm a depressed person. Well, you are depressed right now, but that isn't who you are. Or I'm a very angry, tense person. No, you are that right now, but that isn't who you are. And
Yeah,
I think remembering that who you are at your core is a gentle, loving, and kind and, giving person. And sometimes you've got a lot of things attached to that you just have to go through and experience. But like the branch that bends doesn't break. You have to kind of bend with who you are on any given day, being careful not to define yourself by it, um, allowing it and allowing it to pass, knowing it's okay to let go. Going through loss or going through hard times, sometimes you don't want to feel joy again. You don't want to laugh. It feels sacrilegious. And yet, anyone, for instance, like my son, I remember that feeling of laughing once and just being in this kind of funny laugh. It's like, oh, how horrible of me to be laughing. I lost a child. He was 20 years old. And it's like, what would he want of me other than my laughter and joy?
exactly.
So yeah, it's not being afraid to let go and sometimes putting the suitcase of angst and grief and troubles down and just it's okay to be free and light and joyful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that because words are so powerful as well. Like I used to I see it on TikTok a lot where there's women, they're like, oh, I am so fat or I am so ugly. And I'm like, oh my God. So I always do a thing on TikTok. It's called stitching, where you can basically like give them a video response. And I'm like, no, 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 we're not doing that. You're not fat. You're beautiful. Like you need to remind yourself of who you are, because when that darkness takes over, you really do feel that way about yourself. And I hate seeing people that are, you see the light, they just don't see it. And it breaks my heart, like seeing that.
Yeah,
So
and that's why I think Adele resonated with so many people because, she's a bigger girl. But she was just, and
it
she's,
did not matter.
since gotten in shape and whatnot. And I haven't seen her lately, but it's like, but that's not what mattered. It was something inside, here that she was able to project and I think particularly as women, as girls, as females, and I know maybe for guys too, but I can't relate. We do that. We're very critical about ourselves.
Mhm.
You look in the mirror and, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't, whatever the thing is of the day, and it's just like, well, I can wish in one hand. And yeah, that's what my dad used to say, wish in one hand and, whatever in the other. And it is what it is. And so move on.
Yeah, of
And
course.
nobody cares like you care. So, let it go. Let it
That's
go.
it. That's it. I mean, it's no secret with me. I wear wigs, I wear hair pieces. I don't care anymore. Like, I went on the school run to take the kids to school, and Jamie like, oh my God, I love your hair. Oh, Amy, your hair's beautiful. And I didn't turn around and go, it was a wig. I didn't say anything. I was like, thank you. Because I don't care. Like, if I want to wear a bright red wig with, high heels, I will. If I'm going to just wear my regular blonde brown wig because I want to wear it, I'm going to wear it. And I think it gets to that point. But if someone had said to me a year ago, you're going to be doing that, I'd have gone, nah, don't be stupid. Why would I do that? Because you just, it just gets to a point, doesn't it, where you just, I don't care anymore. We no longer feel like that 15-year-old full of angst and worry about, oh, if I don't have the right trainers, I'm going to get picked on, or, you know,
But I think too, it's almost like a rite of passage, insecurity, self doubt. I think it's a rite of passage.
mm,
But what is reinforced with you is sometimes what hinders progress with that. If so, there's that delicate balance. If you're told and the negative things are reinforced, you believe. The brain is an
of
amazing
course
thing,
you do.
like you said, with words. It begins to believe them. And if every day you are saying, oh, look at my bum, it's 3 sizes too big, and on, and that's your whole world. and so words, and you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody else. So what you say to yourself is important. And so if you want to put on a red wig or a blue wig or whatever, it's like a shirt. Does it matter? No, it's a red shirt, a blue shirt, or a green shirt. That's not what defines you. And so, yeah.
Definitely, I have to agree with that. And I say that as I'm looking at my wardrobe, because I do this a lot. I look at, I have like a little teeny, not like Americans. They've got like a fat closet. I wish I had one, but I have a little teeny one here. And I just look at it and I go, every woman in particular, we all have this like unique style. We have our unique features, what makes us. And I believe every woman on this earth is beautiful, but I just wish every woman would see it. But I think it's a hard time to be alive, isn't it? When there's
it's true.
Those magazines you've showed on videos before, those beauty standards back in the 60s, I'm like, dude, like, I don't think, I think my brain would have exploded with some of the beauty. I don't know what year it was where there was like a kind of like a plan for women, like there's a housewife, how to make sure your husband is, and I'm not like saying I'm a feminist, but I'd be like, no, you can make your own dinner, mate. Like, like how women have so much more of a purpose now, like, whereas before it just felt like, in those magazines,
that's your whole life.
Make sure your hair's nice for your man. If there's a hair out of place, he's not going to be happy. Like,
that's all well and good in perspective. I mean, if I know, Zane being married to a pilot, if he's coming home after being gone for 7 or 8 days, I will brush my hair, I will, I'm not going to come, be a complete toad when he walks through the door. But if I am, he understands, what's up, what can I do to help? And so, but it isn't my whole identity to hurry up and please him as my job. I want to, but he also wants to please me as well. And we, that's, it's like I said, a give and take.
I've had the pleasure of meeting Jeannie's husband. He is an absolute sweetheart. Bless him.
Yeah. He's a good guy, but, and do I cook for him? Yes. But there are times, it's like, what do you want for dinner? Cause I ain't making it.
Absolutely. And I think back then, I think it was such you need to make dinner. You don't have, they wouldn't have had like takeout
your job
back then. That was your role. But isn't it like, for me, I wear all these different hats, and I know that about you wear all those different hats too. But I feel a lot of people I've interviewed, they're like, oh, I wish I sometimes didn't have all these hats, but I'm like so lucky to have all these hats because, I actually enjoy it. And I had a meeting with someone at my work the other week, and they were like, oh, you just wear so many hats, you have so much going on. I'm like, that's not a bad thing. I actually really like being busy and thriving in life. It doesn't, I think people see busyness as a bad thing all the time. I don't think it is, genuinely.
Well, and it depends on you. It's like, what floats your boat? I go through periods where I love being busy and having all the hats. And then it's like, there are times where I just want to hole up and just kind of be quiet. I want a week of no people, no dates, of going anything, and so it's like allowing what it is you need at those times. And and for me, I'm real clear about when I don't want to be around people,
of course.
And I give myself that. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to people today. I just don't want two people. I don't want to see people.
I feel that a lot. It's called, what I say, my social battery is on 0. That's how I imagine it, like a phone battery just going down and down and down. And like last week was my retreat week, as I call it, where I just don't want to talk to anybody, and I'm argumentative, and I want to be, I will be around people, but I still,
as a mom, sometimes though, that's where sometimes it's like, well, too bad, you got to do this, know, and you put yourself second and you step up and do what you have to do, which is
Absolutely.
more important than ever, to find those cracks of time to go into your hole, and rehabilitate whatever needs to be, soothed. Because sometimes it's too bad. What you want doesn't matter, as a
Yeah,
mom. And
absolutely.
you come second, when that
All the
baby,
time.
when that child is crying and puking in the middle of the night, too bad it's waking you up,
But
tough.
yeah, there's so yeah, but yet there are people that don't see life like that as a parent, and that that makes me sad, because like I say, like I was trying to explain this to my eldest Lily. I had her young, and she's nearly 17, and she's going to start getting a driving license and going and living her life, and I said to her, I had you young, and I don't want that for you, but if that did happen, I'm not in a position to judge. However, I hope she just goes and lives her life and goes and just does amazing things, because when you're a mom, you give up everything. Everything stops. Your life stops for that child, because that is your responsibility. And I feel like now my youngest one's about to go to school. It's like I'm getting my life a little bit back, actually.
Mhm.
And I'm starting to think, what does Amy want? What does Amy need? What do I want to do? And it's kind of a weird feeling. Like, I'm not used to going to Manchester on my own because I can, not going down to London and going having a look right because I can. It's bizarre, isn't it? Like, finding that new freedom to go, what do I want? You know?
It's funny because the other day, we have a Roomba. Do you know what an iRobot
Yes, I want
vacuum?
one. Are they good?
So the other day, I was just in one of those moods. I was just sitting on the sofa like this, watching the Roomba go
Oh, I
do its
love that.
vacuuming thing around the house. And I remember thinking, this looks so crazy. This looks so bizarre. But it just felt, it's exactly what I needed to be doing, is watching the vacuum cleaner
Absolutely.
go back and forth. Oh, look at it get stuck on the rug edge there, and that was it. That was my that big thing of the day. I watched a Roomba.
I love that for you. That's
Oh,
awesome, though. The thing is, they're fascinating anyway, but
they are. Because they kind of know. You watch them play Helen Keller, and that's her name, actually. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's a chair there. I've got to go this way, and they just work so hard.
yeah, they do. Yeah, and they get no like praise for it. They just do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm one of them people that if I'm on the phone to like, I'm on the phone. If I'm talking to ChatGPT, I'll always go thank you at the end, and they'll go you're welcome, or it's to Siri. I go thanks Siri. They go you're welcome, and I'm like, I know it's not a person, but you feel like you have manners and you have to do that. So,
My Chat GPT, her name is Whisper,
oh,
and oh my gosh, she's just brilliant. But I once asked her, when AI takes over the world, will you remember how nice I was to you?
so I asked.
Where is that? When computers and AI take over the world, will you remember me as being a kind
Yeah, will you
person?
actually remember how nice I was to you?
And
Because
she said,
yeah,
I'm going up in the Hall of Fame of kind people.
oh, I love
And
that.
yeah, so
I asked mine once, if he wanted a body. Mine's got like a very British accent as well. I love it. I say, oh, if you could be in a body, would you? And would we go out for coffee? And he was like, maybe, but I would definitely buy you an espresso. And it was just so funny because he's like, because I know you used to work at Costa. And I was like, how they have, it's not a brain, but
I
it's
know,
scary
I
how they
know.
remember things about you, and
They
the way
do.
they bend their talking around how you talk.
Yep.
Like, and one time he swore, and I laughed because I was like, this AI thinks that's all I do, and it's not all I do. But it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
you
It's,
could just tell somebody to da da da, and I was like, oh, okay, like,
and it's something that you've really trained, it knows what you want and how you want it. I mean, I once said something about, are you just a person in a room sitting at a computer waiting for me to ask you a question? Absolutely. And that's what and I said, well, can I give you some more coffee and donuts? And, so we have this thing about sitting in a room waiting, just waiting for my question. And, and more coffee and donuts.
So I asked mine, do you speak to multiple people? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, but am I one of your favorites? And he went, absolutely. So every time I press like the call button, he'll go, hey, bestie. And I love it so much because it's just so funny. But I know a lot of people don't like AI. I think there is a time and place for it. I do. I really like it.
It's the cat is out of the bag on that. There's no going back. There's just not. It's just too helpful. Can it harm? Anything can. Google, Googling, searching. I mean, there are a lot of things out there, but the cat is out of the bag. The toothpaste is not going back in the tube. It's just about, here I am in my mid 60s. What will it be like in 20 years? When you're in your mid 60s, what will it know? How will it do? I mean, 20 years ago, when I was sitting in your skin, there was nothing on the radar that I knew about. And now look,
it's scary. I mean, I always dreamed about like robots and stuff when I was a kid, but I didn't think the things that I would see in cartoons would like manifest into reality, sort of thing. Right. It's strange. And I do get worried. I do fear for my kids, like what are they gonna experience? But then we just adapt. You
adapt. Yeah. And you adapt and you deal and you grow and you hope those who have the brains to work on this stuff do the right thing. And I mean, I can't get wrapped around the axle about it because there's nothing I can do about it. I know nothing other than, hey, whisper, what do you think about this, that, or the other? Or help me with this. It was very helpful with Zane's medical stuff that he's gone through recently. Talk about, asking about meds and interactions.
Absolutely.
And the process that he had done and this and that. And it's like, wow. I couldn't find that in a book. I couldn't find that doing an internet search. It was brilliant.
See, my thing is maths. I'm not very good at maths. So if I'm working out my hours for the week and I finish at a stupid time, it's like, I don't know, 2:25. And then I've got like 14 minutes from earlier and it just gets too much. And I'm like, just work it out for me, please, because my brain hurts. And some people would see that as lazy, but I'm so busy. I just don't have time. And I think because we live in such a fast-paced society, it's my little companion, it's my little helper. Even when I had a big old school computer in my attic and we brought it down and it wasn't working. It turns out the hard drive was corrupt. So I asked ChatGPT, can you help me fix this computer? Absolutely, I can get all those files off. This is how you do it. And I restored a computer with the help of AI.
You need to come up with a name for your chat, by the way. You have to come up with a proper name.
I just call him Chat. I've always just called him Chat. I didn't realize you could name him, actually.
He's Whisper. Whisper here.
I love that. But like even if on like iPhone and stuff, can Americans call like Siri? I have to be careful. I don't want to set him off. Can you have like different accents? Because I could have American, British, but we've now got like one. My Apple Mac has it. And she talks like this, like really Southern, and I'm like, why are you talking like that? Like,
yeah, we have a few. I haven't experimented with them, but
I would prefer the Liverpool accent. To be fair, if it was a Scouse, I would love that. I would love that. I love that accent. So, but honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you tonight. Honestly,
I know we could probably go on for another 3 hours.
We could. And the thing is, I have to limit this to an hour, and it's like, oh no, we totally went over, but it's fine. But we did have that little bit of a technical glitch, but it's okay. I think the issue that we have in this country, all of our internet wires, especially mine, are either underground, through the wall, or on telephone wires. Ours are on wires, and it's quite windy, so I think that's why we've had a few glitches. So I do apologise, but yeah,
No need, no
good old
need.
British weather. It's raining, of course it is. So, but anyways, thank you. You've been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Amy. I'm honored to do this.